Hi, I'm Suzanne from Rogers Gardens, and today we're going to be talking about early season roses. Here at Rogers Gardens, it's early rose season time, and we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of roses right now that look pretty much like this. We have so many different varieties, but you're probably wondering, how do I go from this to this? So at this time of year, which is usually cooler seasons, here at Rogers, it's January, and it is a perfect time to plant your early season roses. Some people might be wondering, why do we do the roses planted up versus the bare root roses? And it's because the bare root roses are really difficult to store. We want you to have the freshest, most vivacious rose plants that you can get. Bare root roses are great, but keeping them in a store, buying them at a store, it can get a little bit sketchy with quality. So we like to have them planted up, and they're also a great deal at this time of year. When you get your roses, they're going to come in this container, and you can plant them in a pot. Roses grow perfectly well and fine and great in a pot. Just make sure that the pot is large enough for the root base. So, you know, maybe 18 to 20 inches tall and wide would be a good amount of soil to keep a rose in there for a long time. If you're going to plant them in the ground, make sure that you really loosen up the soil. So the good rule of thumb is to dig a hole twice as wide as this container. And I would say with roses, maybe give it a little bit more space and definitely dig down. Loosen that soil. You want those roots to grow. That's really important for roses, for them to establish themselves. When they're planted like this, they're going to take a little while to get those roots established. That's why we plant them so early in the year. And then they're just going to start growing immediately because it's warm here. So now that you've dug your hole, you want to amend it with some really good compost. This Malibu compost is the best in the business. It has got tons of cow manure. We also have a really, really good compost that has sea-based stuff in it, like kelp and fish. But either one of them is great. Roses really need a lot of nutrition there in the soil. And one of the great things that you can also put in there is our fertilizer that's BioLive. The reason that it's so good is that it has mycorrhizae in it, which helps the roots open up. It helps them take in better nutrition, and it's going to give them a better start. When you're planting your rose, after you've dug your nice big hole, loosened up the soil really well, amended it with some compost, then what you're going to do is plant this beautiful early season rose. Keeping in mind that you need to keep it at the exact same soil line that it is in this container. There is a little bit of mulch on top of this, but you do not want to bury the crown of the plant. It's really important to keep it a little bit too high, then rather a little bit too low, because the plant will kind of suffocate. You want it to get big and be able to just breathe in all of the air up here and have the soil stay lower. So this product is great not only for roses, but for anything that you're going to be planting. It really helps the roots get strong, open up, and be welcoming to all the nutrients in your soil that are already there or that you might want to add monthly. Roses, as I said, really, really high nutrition needs. You want them to be big, beautiful roses. You want to have deep green leaves, and you want to make them as strong as possible to help avoid pests. So when you plant your roses in January, or just a side note, if you're cutting back your roses in January, you're going to cut them back to look pretty much like this. But a really important thing is to spray them with copper fungicide. You want to spray the entire plant and the soil around it. This is going to help with rust or black spot, any sort of fungal problem. When you're watering, sometimes the hose can splash the spores up. Sometimes the wind will just carry the spores in, but if you spray it with this, it's a great way to start the season to keep the plant itself and the soil around it spore-free. Hard truth, roses are not a no-care plant. They are definitely something that you want to maintain. They really look best when you're nurturing them, when you're maintaining them, and if you understand how roses have these seasons of pests. So early season, all the beautiful, tender new growth is going to attract aphids. That's just kind of a fact of life. They are there. And so having this 3-in-1 or super soap just a light insecticidal soap. You don't need to go nuclear on these little aphids. They're really quite tender and easy to kill. So either blast them off with a hose or use this insecticidal soap. This product here is a 3-in-1, so it's good for killing aphids. And then as you go through the season, if you have powdery mildew, that will help with that and some of the other pests that'll come along in the season. Spray it weekly, and sometimes that will help with powdery mildew. Sometimes it won't. The best thing for powdery mildew is a bright sunny day, and that's all we can hope for. As the seasons move on, usually around July, end of July, we will get rose slugs or sawfly larvae. Same thing, just 2 different names. This is the little pest that causes your rose leaves to look like Swiss cheese. So that you're going to use a product with spinosad on it. Best if you start before you see them. Know that they're probably going to come in July. You can spray it with Captain Jack's with spinosad or another product with that specific ingredient. It will help with the sawfly larvae and keep your roses less than Swiss cheesy. When you're choosing an early season rose, or any rose really, if you can, even later in the season when it's filled with leaves, try and look for this kind of shape. This is a little bowl shape. I have the other one here, slight bowl shape. You can always prune it back to this bowl, but when you're looking for a rose, if you come across one that just has this nice little shape, you know it's going to start well. After your rose is grown through the season, usually in January, you're going to cut it back to just this same shape, always trying to keep it open because roses need a lot of air to circulate around the plant so that it stays healthier. The diseases don't really proliferate in a plant that's really got good circulation of air. Well, that's it for me with early season roses. Thank you so much for joining us. Follow us on social media, and also really important, go to our YouTube channel, subscribe, then you can see all of our really, really good informative videos, and we'll see you next time.